Now, problems with the baby's heart are among the most common forms of birth defects in the UK. Most turn out to be minor, but thousands of children are born with life-altering conditions.
2 years ago, researchers found a simple test could diagnose some of the most serious conditions and help save lives, but that test has never been rolled out.
Yes, now a group of charities and doctors are calling on the government to make it compulsory, as Ben Moore reports.
Only 7 hours old, but already Toby is taking an important test. This simple probe measures oxygen levels in his blood, indicating if his heart is working properly.
Absolutely fine.
But just 1 in 5 UK hospitals use the pulse oximetry test. The decision to use it here at Birmingham Women's Hospital was made by the consultants.
The babies that test positive are usually fine. They might have low oxygen levels, but they don't have any other symptoms at that time. So that gives us the opportunity to investigate the baby thoroughly, to establish a diagnosis and start treatment before the baby becomes unwell.
5-year-old Georgina Smith is an example of what happens when a heart condition is missed. She was born with a fused valve. It wasn't found until she was 2.
The stress of not knowing why your child isn't responding and why she's waking with fast heart rate, not knowing what's wrong with your child, whereas if she'd had the pulse oximetry test done, which is such a simple, easy test, then we would have known from day one where we were with her heart condition.
1 in every 133 babies is born with a heart problem. Most are minor, but up to 1,400 a year have one that's life-threatening. The pulse oximetry test can detect 90% of those critical heart defects.
I think there's very strong evidence that this is going to be a very good screening tool, and it is already helping places where it's been rolled out, so it will certainly make a difference nationally, so unquestionably it should be rolled out.
The chances are you're already familiar with the pulse oximetry test. You would have had one if you've been in A&E, in an ambulance or had an operation. It's even given to some new mums. The only cost to a maternity unit is an extra £500 for the unit and this special adapter that allows it to be fitted to newborns. There is one problem. The test can pick up other illnesses, minor lung infections for example, that require no medical treatment. The body, considering rolling it out nationally, says it could divert much needed resources.
The issue is that if we provide care to them early on, and they would have got better anyway, that means that we might be using hospitals or doctors or clinicians or intensive care beds that we would need for babies who have got sickness that genuinely needs that sort of care.
Teaching him before, haven't they?
As Georgina faces an operation this year to fix her heart, any child found with a problem in Birmingham should be treated straight away, meaning new parents like Toby's mum can sleep soundly. Ben Moore, BBC News, Birmingham.
Now, to discuss what those heart monitors could do, we're joined by Julie Wooton, who's the chair of the Children's Heart Federation and whose 4-month-old son actually died from a heart defect. Good morning to you.
Morning.
I know we've rushed you into the studio, so tell us a little bit about your son and what happened to him.
Okay, ordinary birth, caesarean section. When he was about 18 hours old, they took him off into a room and sort of said, "Has he been doing that funny colour when you feed him?" And I said, well, I hadn't really noticed anything because the caesarean hadn't quite gone very well for me, so I was quite sort of poorly. And then about, and these things never happen at lunchtime, do they? It's always 4 o'clock in the morning or something. So he was taken off to Birmingham Children's Hospital, and his saturations were in the 40s.
So that would mean that too much oxygen?
No.
Okay.
Way not enough.
Way
not enough.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah.
And just explain to us, so as you understand that sequence of events, what would have been different had these tests been available? What could have been different?
Well, if they put the clip that was on my finger, if they put the neonatal probe on his foot, then they would have seen the saturation starting to decline and he wouldn't have collapsed. Because basically what happened was his gut died. He's got an underlying genetic condition called 22q11.2 deletion, got a poor immune system. died, became infected with gangrene. When he was 4 days old, he had 75% of his bowel removed, so then he had a stoma, you know, like a colostomy, but a little bit higher up with a bag, and then he was intravenously fed, and that just led to more and more infections.
I mean, it's so harrowing for you, but what you said at the beginning there, which is a test that was there, I mean, physically there in the hospital, had that been used?
It could drive you mad thinking about it. Yes.
And if it had been used, it would have made a massive difference, would it?
Well, yes, because had they managed to intervene before his gut had actually died, then it would be a whole different sort of ball game for him. Yes, he'd got catastrophic heart defects, which is why his oxygen saturations were so very, very low. But it's a repairable condition.
And given what you've been through, your family's been through, it must be hugely frustrating that still, in many hospital wards, the equipment is not there. And we saw the piece of machinery. This is, this is not it's an elaborate piece of equipment, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's not. And yes, it does. It's been a 10-year sort of trial for me, really, to try and see things improved. Yeah.
And I mean, you know when you have a baby that there are so many tests done on them, on the babies as well, aren't there? So you sort of assume that this could be added to them. It is. I mean, it costs money, doesn't it? That's the bottom line.
Well, it's a few pence. I mean, they've already got the equipment there in the hospital.
So it's just the adaptations.
Most of the GPs have got a pulse oximeter that they use for people. So yeah, it's just the neonatal probe.
And do you think you're going to be able to make this change, that it will be made?
I flipping hope so, yes, and we'll be working on it for a very long time.
And presumably during the time that you've been campaigning, you must have been in contact with many other families.
Absolutely.
In similar circumstances.
Yes, and it's such a common story. Oh, well, we went home and the baby wasn't feeding correctly, and I went to the midwife, I went to the health visitor, I went to the GP, and they just said, oh, you've just been a little bit anxious. You know, everything's going to be fine, just relax, and of course it isn't. And the Think Heart campaign is very good to try and make people aware of what sort of symptoms to look for in their baby, but that sort of places the burden of responsibility on the parents. So, you know, there will be parents now sitting at home with the baby on the changing mat and going, well, what do you think? Are they breathing too hard? Is their pulse rate too fast? Are they looking waxy? I don't know. What do you think? What shall we do? And there is a simple test that the professionals can do to help them out.
Have you asked them? Can you get them tested? If you know to ask for the test, can that make a difference?
Yes, you can ask for it.
Thank you very much for coming to see us, Julie.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Let's see, the time now is 7:28.
Yes, we should say the Department of Health has said the UK National Screening Committee, which advises on policy, is reviewing the standards for the newborn programme as well.
Let's see what's coming up on breakfast.